Hello. I've been absent without leave for a little while. Because let's be honest, the holidays are kind of a bitch for some people, but they're over. And today I'd like to engage in another measured rant about the potential I see in Mastodon. Uh, so the first part of this is the potential I see in Mastodon as the think tank. So, some of you are probably already aware by now that Mastodon is capable of hosting streamable audio clips. Perhaps of you reciting some lines in a video essay that either you or someone else has been writing, or even some lines for some characters in a short animation or a puppet show, or maybe even footage of someone playing with dolls. Like, that would be pretty interesting or funny. And funny. Um, and you could also post video footage for editing, or you could edit video footage, and you could even post footage that you edited, to be incorporated into the video project that you're collaborating with others on. And more kind of also importantly, uh with more people collaborating on a project, there's going to be a little more interest and also more opportunities for people to offer constructive criticism, uh, to maybe redact some problematic messages, or to add nuance to them, or maybe forego any instances of anyone putting out any problematic takes. Um, so that the threat of rogue messaging is mitigated before it's incorporated into the final copy and published for tons of people to see. Um, so yeah, I think Mastodon is very good for being leveraged as a collaborative and productive platform. And I've been thinking about putting out a tutorial video on ways that I think Mastodon's basic functions can be leveraged to this end. But I'm going to skip that for now and continue with this rant, and move on to the second part, which is the potential I see for Mastodon to act as also a sanctuary. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking that my problem with Natalie is that she wrote a sarcastic joke on about how some accommodations that were made for non-binary people came at the expense of trans women. But my problem with her isn't so much that, as it is the fact that she said it on Twitter for thousands of people to see. Now, I realize that a lot of you have a problem with some leftists taking her a little too seriously, and understandably so. But I want to ask you something. If, a bunch of leftists that you dislike took her a little too seriously, and thought that was, not such a good thing for her to do, I want to ask you, who else might have taken her seriously? And more importantly, among those who took her seriously, who might have thought that this joke, saying that non-binary people are a burden to trans women, was right? Apparently, Christina Hoff Sommers thought it was right, and she posted a tweet about it on Twitter for yet thousands more to see. And that's a problem. My problem isn't that Natalie told a joke. My problem is that it informed reactionary messages. That's my problem with it. And I think you guys can understand that. Now, if Natalie had a private space to make these jokes, amongst the privacy of her friends, then I'm sorry, I've been having a sore throat for a little bit, and it's getting to me. But if Natalie had a had a private space to post that kind of joke in the privacy of her friends, or her circle of friends or her peers, then it wouldn't have been as much of a problem. Like, certainly no woke scolds would have seen it, and more importantly, no reactionaries would have seen it and latched onto it and reproduced that problematic message into something a lot worse. So, yeah, like, Natalie needs a sanctuary, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people, like, could do with some private moments or private spaces so that they can maybe loosen up a bit. And maybe we woke scolds could loosen up a bit too, which brings me to this other part of this second part, which is that if other smaller leftists had spaces, like Mastodon instances with smaller circles of friends, then there would clearly be, and they were active on these instances, of course. Like, if we were active on Mastodon, then we wouldn't have nearly as much incentive to look for messages to call out or cancel anyone over. And we certainly wouldn't be in a position where we just accidentally run into it either. This could also offer Natalie a lot more resiliency too. And I guess back to the first part, like, if this controversy that's been transpiring over the past few months has shown me, it's that if larger bread tubers can't avoid these controversies alone, then I don't think anyone can. Which stresses the importance of having sanctuaries as well, and also think tanks. Which means that I think, like, larger bread tubers should have their own sanctuary and think tank. And that we smaller lefties should have that too. Because, like, as I've, said in, American Johnson's stream about, the YouTube walkout and all that in PeerTube, it's that we need to use the buddy system because the buddy system works. Like, it has more potential to work than to break. Like, the buddy system does work. And it's not as if, I'm not trying to do this myself. Like, I have my own Mastodon instance that I'm spending money on to get lefties like myself working together on video projects and drawing posters and stuff like that. And, yeah, I've been trying to be active on it, and I'm not taking nearly as much notice to any drama on Twitter. I'm not really understanding why people aren't really interested in joining Mastodon instances or setting up instances of their own. Because you don't have to abandon your Twitter handle. You can have your Mastodon instance and your Twitter account. You can post propaganda on Twitter, and it's going to be a higher profile setting. And maybe before you do that, you could consult with your peers on Mastodon about whether or not that's, your message is a good one, or whether or not it's effective. Basically, it keeps coming back to this point that we need to have our own think tanks and sanctuaries. And use the buddy system and, try to be understanding with each other, I guess. And Mastodon is clearly good for that, and I'm not understanding as leftists why we're not really doing that. And I guess, since I was on the subject of my own Mastodon instance, I guess I do want to promote it a little bit and say that if there are any artists listening to this, then I'd be interested in in collaborating with you guys, like on your video projects. I'm not really interested in setting up or initiating any video projects of my own, since the Mastodon instance that I'm running is my pet project, but I have experience with editing videos, and I'm trying to teach myself animation and voice acting. So if you think you could work together with me on something, please join and like try to interface with me and the other users on how we can work together and what you'd like to work together on. Because I think that like us banding together is an important thing, like for reasons I've already explained extensively. And I guess another thing that I should point out is that maybe American Johnson and Scaredy Matt would be interested in hearing that, like promoting smaller leftist think tanks. The work of doing that is a lot more finite than with promoting smaller leftists as individuals. And like I do want to reiterate, like I want like all the bigger bread tubers working together in their own think tank and sanctuary, like so that they can put out higher quality and less harmful content. Like I guess what I mean is like they're basically peers in that they're more popular and they have a lot more experience. And like as we know from the workplace, like dealing with people who are so much less experienced in like a professional setting, like with high stakes projects and stuff like that, like people with less experience can weigh you down, and it's going to be a lot of work to instruct them. So like we can have instructions, but like work amongst peers. And I really don't want it to come off as though like I don't want bread tubers working together. Like, but they need to be working together within their own context is what I mean. And yeah, if like the controversy like that's been going on like for months and months has shown me like they can't avoid putting out harmful content alone. They can't avoid that alone. So they need to work together, and we need to work together to grow. So the buddy system works, you guys. We should be using it. I guess I can't say that enough times, and it's going to weigh down this rant a lot. So I guess I should leave it at that for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.